going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 5 of the After Effect podcast. I'm your host, LeBron Stephan. We have a very special guest today. Senior football coordinator at USA Football, Charles Torwudzo, is on the show today to talk about, growing up in the state of Indiana as a Midwest kid, playing in the Big Ten at the University of Purdue, having short stints in the CFL and arena football, and his transition out of sports. So I just sent the invite to him. So he should be coming on in a few moments.
Ron, what's good?
Good, bro. Good to
What's
see
the
you, man.
word? It's good to see you too, dog. What have you been up to?
Oh, nothing much, man. Just trying to get this pod off the ground in these wild times right now.
I hear you, bro. Shit has been crazy.
Yeah, man. I'm glad we could tap in, man, because I know you're super busy.
Yeah, man. It's crazy because like this time of year too, like we're typically on a road, so we've been getting like real creative with what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? So it just kind of gives us a chance to slow down a little bit, but it's still kind of wild at the same time, you know?
Yeah, right. And it's crazy because it's like as soon as you feel like you adjusting, the spikes go up and then things open up, then they close again, and it's like
right. It's like in a constant state of just like the unknown.
The unknown,
you know
exactly, the unknown.
Yeah, like truly, it's like the constant state of like one day everything is straight, like everything's trending the right way, and then the next day, bang, half the things are closed or whatever, man. So, like you said, bro, it's just adjusting. Like it's just adjusting.
And that's the main thing. But I appreciate you tapping in, man. Again, the ethos of this pod is essentially just to give guys like us, former athletes, a voice to talk about our athletic journeys, the different things that we saw during our careers, and ultimately the transition out of sports. For years, I always felt like, us as athletes playing a certain sport or a game for 20 plus years, and then someone basically telling us, okay, you're never going to do that again. Now go get a job, basically, and be okay with that. I always felt like that was like minimized a bit, like it was supposed to be just some easy thing to just transition to, when it's really not, especially when you're doing something that you really love. So this is just an outlet for us to, tell our stories and hopefully help the next generation, during their transition.
Bro, 100%. And that's why when I saw you post it, I was like, you might have just struck gold with this. Because like you see so many guys that they do make the transition, but they do become professional athletes and they stay in that field for a long time. Like there's obviously thousands of cats that do that, but the vast majority of us, that reality, like even if you do make it to the professional, you know what I'm saying? Like that's a very short amount of time. And then the transition into the real world and like actually into like, bro, it's been wild. So like I said, dog, I was like, I got to get on this.
I had you in line because, and I noticed, I felt like and it just came to me out of nowhere. I felt like it was a hole in the podcast community because what I realized, if you look at your Uninterrupted, your Player Tribunes, your Bleacher Reports, all of those media networks, most hosts on those platforms that had a visual podcast, like I'm trying to start, or audio podcast, most of those people had made it professionally. So they either had like a 8 to 10 year or 5 year NFL NBA career, and now they're retired. So they knew the media people, they knew the right people, they had those resources and contacts to tap into after, or they already retired. When you look at All the Smoke on Showtime Basketball, you got Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. They played 10, 14 years in the league, NBA championships. So when they were done, they already had those resources. They can already send those emails to these people. Hey, I want to start this podcast. What do I do? And then they got the help. So, but I feel like people like us, we're the vast majority, like you said, we're the main listeners that listen to all these shows because we're former athletes. But when do we get to tell our story? Because it's kind of like we're like lost in the, we're lost in the race because we didn't make it and we just kind of had to figure it out. So,
bro, that's the truest, man. That's the truest thing ever, dog. Like you said, there was definitely a gap, like you said, and I think that's why when I saw it, I was just throwing on IG and I was like, oh man, Brian, he hit it right here. I'm like, I gotta get in on this, like, because this is it. This is it. So for sure, bro.
So I'll just dive right in, man. Talk about growing up in Brownsburg, Indiana. You know, we're both Midwest kids. I grew up in Ohio, right next door in Indiana.
Yeah.
So just talk about the culture. You know, in Indiana, you growing up. I did some research. I saw you were the #9 overall player in the state of Indiana. Fun
Okay.
fact,
Okay.
I also
I
saw
see
that.
locking in.
Yeah, yeah. And fun fact, I also saw that you had the highest free throw percentage on your basketball team. Uh, you know, I played basketball in high school too, so I'm a basketball always my second love, so I can appreciate that. So yeah, just talk about the culture, you know, in the state of Indiana. For those who don't really know anything about Indiana.
For sure, man. So first off, shout out to you for really digging and doing your homework, bro. 'Cause to be honest with you, I forgot about my free throw percentage, but you know your boy was out there getting
what
buckets.
what
So
what was it? Were you like over 90?
nah, man, I was like high 80s. I
Okay,
was
like
like high
89,
80s.
88.
Yeah, I was like 89, 88. But man, like growing up in Brownsburg, dog, like, you know, we grew up in the suburbs and I was in a position where, so my dad is from Africa. He's from Ghana, right?
Okay.
And my mom is from Texas. And my parents wanted to make sure that they just equipped us with the best chance that we could ever possibly have to become successful. So
Okay.
they moved us, when we moved to Indiana, my dad got a different job and we lived like in the suburbs. We were surrounded by like majority white people.
Okay.
So like even growing up, I was used to being the minority. Like in every situation, 9 times out of 10, I was the only black kid that was there.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? So, man, like it was an uphill battle. Like I can't even front because at the end of the day, you know, you just want to be at that young of an age. You just want to be accepted. You want people
right.
to like you. You know what I'm saying? And part of like my parents wanting us to continue to be able to have the best opportunity to be successful was like making sure that, you know, we speak correctly and that we are always dressed properly and all this different type of stuff, just so that we're always putting our best foot forward. So,
Right.
you know, when I would hang out with like my black friends, they'd be like, "Man, you talk white." You know what I'm saying? But then if I was hanging out with my white friends, it's like, "Man, you're still black." You know what I'm saying? So it was like,
so it's
there was
like, yeah,
always,
you can't win either way. It's a lose-lose.
truly, bro, truly, and man, so Indiana, we lived like in the suburbs in Brownsburg, and I was like, okay, I want people to like me, and I also really like sports, and I also saw how they treated athletes that excelled in sports. They really put their arms around those type of people, and that's, to be honest with you, man, that was a lot of the reason why I dove into the sport as much as I did, was because like I wanted my peers to respect me. I wanted the community to put their arms around me. You know what I'm saying? And there was instances where if we had a run-in with the law or something like that, if we TP'd somebody's house or something like that, or I got pulled over, or even like these minor little things, it's like, oh, that's Charles, he's going to Purdue. Like, nah, he's good. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that, although it's not white privilege, it's an amount of privilege that had I not been going to Purdue, had I not excelled in sports,
it could have ended different.
It could have ended entirely different, bro. 100%. So that's a lot of the reason why I put so much of myself into sports, is because I wanted to be embraced by the community, which I was. But like you said, bro, that's why when you do transition out of sport, you're kind of like, okay, now what type of thing? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, Brownsburg, I still, you know, obviously there was different instances growing up around all majority of white people. You know, there's different racial things that had happened at the time. I kind of just let roll off and stuff like that, man. And looking back, I think that it just kind of built me up, built my character, allowed me to really tap into who I am nowadays, man. And so I got no hard feelings towards Brownsburg, or, you know, they still hit me up. Like the athletic department still hits me up when they get like sponsor deals, and they're like, oh, we want to know what your take is on it and this and that and stuff like that. So,
okay,
you know, it's all love still.
Yeah, that's what's up. It sounds like love. It's funny that you say that, because my experience growing up was like actually like kind of basically the total opposite. Like, you know, grew up in the inner city, never only went to school with all black kids. The only white people that I ever had any contact with were my teachers in elementary, middle school, high school, and I always had good relationships with them. I was always in honors classes. You know, I excelled academically, so never really had any issues with that. But I think that's a good segue to my next question, like the transition from high school to college, because I would presume that since you already went to school with a good amount of white people and black people were mixed, when you went to University of Purdue, it was pretty much the same thing. It was because it was predominantly white school. But for me, going from the inner city of Cleveland to the University of Iowa, that was a big culture shock for me because
I can imagine, bro.
Yeah, I had never been in a class with 250 people of all white people. It may be like 3 black kids, like, right? And I also never had white coaches, so I had to get used to getting yelled at by white coaches and just kind of not really, I wouldn't say conforming, but just trying to find ease and normalcy in that environment.
I hear you, man, for sure.
So that was my next question. Just talk about your transition from high school to college, obviously going to University of Purdue. I was recruited by them too. Probably maybe should have went there, but that's a camera. We can talk about that off camera. But yeah, so let's talk about your transition because I saw that you went in 2010, but you didn't play in 10 or 11. So I wasn't sure if you were injured or something happened. Did you sit out? Or yeah, so just expound on that for me.
For sure, bro, man. So I know. So people are gonna end up watching this. Me and LeBron, we played together in Iowa, like for the Barnstormers at one point.
Yeah, 2016.
But yeah, man. So like, I get to Purdue. You know how their whole recruiting process is, man. Like the coaches are coming through. Like, well, first off, they pull up to Brownsburg into the house. Like again, my dad worked his ass off, bro. Like built us this beautiful home in Brownsburg, Indiana, and Coach Hope, the head coach of Purdue at the time, comes through and you know, he's recruiting and everything. And he pulled up to the neighborhood. He's like, wow, this is like my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Right. So he comes in and, you know, he really lays it down. Hey, you know, you're going to be a true freshman. You're going to be our guy, this and that. You know how that whole situation goes. And,
right.
Man, to me, it was just a massive culture shock. Like you said, like as far as being around majority of white people when I got to school, that wasn't really the shocking part to me. Like majority of my team at Brownsburg, it was like, there's some black kids on our team, but there was a lot of white kids as well. So I felt like I went into the locker room having a chip on my shoulder because people are like, bro, you've been hanging at everything. You were born with a silver spoon in your mouth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You went to Brownsburg. So then I had to really show these guys, like, I'm a dog still. Like, I'm still out here. I'm still going to do what I got to do when it comes down to it.
Right. I'm still nice.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So, but obviously I ended up redshirting, man, and I still talk to guys that are recruiting now about the transition from high school to college because when they come in there in your house and they're talking to your folks, no matter where you're from, they're going to tell you you're the best, you're the greatest, whatever.
Right.
When you step on campus, the vibe is not the same. The energy
totally
was so different because they already got you. You already signed. So now
you already there.
You already belong to them. They don't even really care. So you pull up to campus, you see your coach, you're like, Coach, what's good? And he's just like, walks right past you.
Yeah, get your ass in that workout type.
Swear, bro. I was like, to be honest with you, it really threw me off. I thought I was gonna be walking in. You know what I'm saying? Like they told me I was gonna be the guy. Like I'm convinced I'm gonna be the guy. So to be frank with you, like during the summer when I was working out, but I probably wasn't going as hard as I should have. I was already convinced that I already had a spot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But then they got other cats that they are recruiting from Florida or from that class I came in with. We had like 4 other receivers that were all from Florida, and these dudes were hungry. You know what I'm saying? And they were grinding. So they come in, beat me out for my spot. I ended up taking a red shirt, and the second year I was just trying to get on special teams as much as I possibly could. And you know, so that was kind of the shock for me. Was just still going in there with that mentality, like I'm still a dog. Don't get it twisted. Just because I'm from Brownsburg doesn't mean I can't come out here and do what I got to do.
Right.
But man, it was like I said, man. It was growing up in Brownsburg had its upside. You know, it had its downside, just like anything else. So it was tough, but you know, like I said, I wouldn't trade my experience at Purdue for the world, man.
Right. It's funny because, like you say, that transition from high school to college, and like you say, you know, you're this. You know, you're number 9 in the state of Indiana. You're this awesome recruit. They tell you all these things. You're going to be the guy. And like you say, when you get there, it's a total different vibe. It's a total different energy. They talking to you like you ain't nobody. Like they telling you ain't done shit for the program yet. Like get your ass in line. And it's funny because for me, I remember going into the University of Iowa. Also super confident. I was like a tweener. And so when I signed my letter of intent, the defensive line coach at the University of Iowa was a black guy, Ryan Aiken. And so we watched film together. He showed me I was a tweener, so I'll be playing a bit of DN, a bit of outside linebacker. It made sense. Signed my letter of intent, and a week after I signed my letter of intent, literally maybe like 10 days later, he signs on to be the defensive line coach at the Arizona Cardinals in NFL. So I get to campus in June, for summer workouts, and here's a guy that I don't even remember meeting on my visit. I had never talked to. He's a defensive line coach. So that transition of being coached by somebody that I didn't even know when I was being recruited, things just kind of changing. Like you say, that transition is hard. And I'm sure Purdue is the same way. When you redshirt, you lift more than anybody because they say you got to get faster and stronger. So your body is just beat up. You come from a high school program to a college. So you're lifting, 4 or 5 times a week in season. You're not playing. You only dress at home games. So that transition, I always tell people, bro, that those first 3 months, going for fall camp in August to maybe the end of that first semester, those first 6 months is the hardest thing ever, because coming as a high school, you're not even used to having to practice with super sore traps from hand cleaning and super heavy legs from squatting heavy. But then you still got to practice and look fast and look explosive and look like your body, you only 18 years old, your body it's not even used to it yet.
Bro, you know what's wild is, so the other day I was lifting, and the next day I woke up, I was like, man, I'm sore. I'm struggling going up down the steps, and I was thinking in my head, I was like, yo, we used to lift way harder, and they have to practice way harder.
Right.
Bro, man, the more I even think about it, dog, it's we were built different. Athletes are truly built different, because if
you gotta have so much willpower. So
boy.
So I'll talk about my next question. I just wanted to get your take on the current state of how Black athletes are treated, during their careers at predominantly white schools, because we both went there, and I'm not really sure if you've been following ESPN or sports news, but my alma mater has been in the news pretty much all June. So a guy a center, offensive center for Chicago Bears, James Daniels. He's an Ohio guy, played at the University of Iowa. He tweeted a couple weeks ago that there are too many racial disparities at the University of Iowa. Black players have been treated far worse for far too long. This has to stop. And that it was a snowball effect. I think 60 former or current Black players came out with different stories about the strength and conditioning coach saying racially offensive jokes, or calling them names, or saying I'll send you back to the ghetto, and so I wanted your take, because I feel lucky, because obviously the high school that I went to in Cleveland, Ohio, I had a bunch of friends that played at Wisconsin. I had a bunch of friends that played at Ohio State. You were at Purdue. I know 2 guys that went to Michigan State. I know a few guys that went to Michigan. So I've gotten stories on how Black players were treated at these kinds of these Big Ten universities, from all these different people. And some are different. The Ohio States, the story I get from Ohio State is different than the ones I get at the Wisconsin, or the ones, some of the things that I experienced. So I guess you're the only player that I know from Purdue. Well, no, I know a guy, Royce Adams. He played corner, I think.
I know Royce.
Yeah, that's my guy. But me and him we used to work out together, but we never really talked in depth about the actual experience, his actual experience. So just give us your take on, where that is, especially now with it being 2020, and you would think things would be the realm of in the football complex. You would think it would be pretty even. It's 2020, right? But in a lot of programs, they do a good job of hiding certain things and making Black players and athletes only feel comfortable to a certain extent and stuff like that. So just give me your take on that.
Bro, that's a great point, man. So at Purdue, I will say, at no point was there did I feel like I was being slighted because I was Black, which I'll say kudos to the coaching staff and all that stuff for that. You know what I'm saying? I think now in today's day and age, it's a lot more of a heightened awareness of stuff that is taking place that is uncalled for, that is, you know what I'm saying, that's out of bounds.
Right.
So that being said, like there could have definitely been some stuff that took place back then. I kind of let roll off. Again, me being raised around a lot of white people, I let so much stuff fly back then that I didn't even really realize was going on. Nowadays, I was, you know what I mean? So, man, it was.
You already knew. You had already heard so much coming up. Like you said, you just let it roll off.
Exactly, man. Like, so there was never really any specific instances at Purdue. There was one time when we were at a fraternity and there was like these frat boys were talking all this mess and whatever, and me and a couple of my teammates, we all ended up kind of getting into it, right? And like after it was all said and done, me, a couple of my teammates, we all go to the coach's office and we all have a word with the coach and everything like that, man. I feel like some of the punishment was tailored more towards the white players that were also there at the situation, as you know what I'm saying? Like their punishment wasn't quite as harsh. Like
right.
You know, it wasn't like they got suspended from the team or didn't get to travel or nothing like that. Like they still got to play, still got to do X, Y, and Z. But you know, a handful of the black players, it was like you can't travel, you can't do this, you can't do that. So
right. They get the stiffest penalties.
They end up getting the stiffest penalties, and I think that probably was the biggest instance that I would remember off the top of my head. But man, aside from that, man, like shockingly, there's nothing that like really sticks out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I remember I took like a summer visit to Purdue, and like you say, the coaches seemed really solid and and they seemed like they would be able to create a good atmosphere for everyone, for all players involved. And it sounds like you're validating that. So that's good that you didn't really have to experience, because I know some guys that on the better side, on the better coin of things, and I know other guys who didn't really have a good experience and can go back to a lot of stories, about just different.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I will say this though too, is that man, like we were I think our staff was so focused on winning, and a lot of how coaches' jobs are always at stake. I think that it was less about even like race at Purdue. It was more about like, if you're a guy who's contributing right now and you get into some shit, like we can kind of excuse it regardless of if you're black or if you're white. Like if you're one of our starters, we're going to kind of, it's not going to be quite as harsh of a punishment. Now, if you were a guy who's not really playing, if you're a redshirt guy, if you're, you know what I'm saying, a backup guy, if you're just a special teams guy, like if you get into it, you're going to kind of be the cats that, are made an example out of to some extent. You know what I'm saying? So,
and it seems, and it seems like that happens a lot, like, in a lot of different programs. They're going to go to bat more for the guy, for that starter guy or that keynote guy or that guy, whose jersey is selling out, as opposed to someone, like you say, it's a backup or a special teams player or red shirted. So I feel like it's always been like that.
It is, for sure, dog. No question.
All right. So the senior coordinator of football operations at USA Football. That's your current position. So just talk about, I think a lot of times, as athletes, people don't really sketch out their action steps and like how they got there, right? So talk about, your action steps and how you got to where you are now. Just, give us your day-to-day, what you do day in, day out, details like that.
Man, it's been crazy, man, because as of right now, it's been totally different. But now I'm in a position where I work for the U.S. national team at USA Football. I'm a senior coordinator of football operations. So that title, man, it entails a lot. Like I work with a lot of players. I work with we have teams from ages U14 all the way up to U19. So like seniors getting ready to be freshmen in college. That's our U19 age, and that's a lot of the times the cats that I'm working with. So but we recruit all these teams. Each team has about 50 kids on it. A lot of times we'll have two age groups, so 214s, 215s, 216s, all the way up to 19. So we recruit all those guys, and then also throughout the how we recruit them is we have what's called our regional season, and we'll travel all across the country. This year there were supposed to be 18. Obviously with COVID-19 we didn't travel at all, but Typically, there's between 18 to 20 locations in different cities, from all the way from LA to New York. And we'll go there and we'll pull anywhere between 200 to 300 kids at each one of these different deals.
Okay.
And then essentially I'm there. My boss AI is there. And then we have another dude on the East Coast. His name is Al Pops. He works really close with us three basically. And we'll be scouting each weekend. It'll be like 3 different locations. So one will be in Denver, one could be in Austin, and one could be in Scottsdale or in Phoenix. And we'll all be at each one of these different locations, scouting each one of the players and essentially kind of building our teams as we go throughout the deal. So, we have a regional season. After that, we build the teams, and then we have what's called International Bowl. So at International Bowl, we call it IB. It's at Texas at AT&T Stadium where the Cowboys play every year in January. So in January, we all go to Dallas for this past year was about a week and a half to 2 weeks. And then Mexico will come, Canada will come, Japan will come. We had that's it, Panama already. There's a handful of different teams that come from across the world, and they'll come. This past year was our 11th year doing it, so that's kind of where I primarily focus. It's essentially just building these teams constantly, building the coaching staff constantly. And again, so if we go to LA, I got to make sure we have 30. If there's going to be 300 kids, I got to make sure we have at least 30 coaches. That way, the player to coach ratio is good at the camp. That way, we can have a good eye, 1 coach per 10 players ish or something like that, somewhere around there. But yeah, man, I mean, it's been a long road, and to be frank with you, I would have never thought that I would be in the position that I'm in right now. But it's been fun, man. And with the pandemic going on, like obviously we haven't been traveling, so we've been getting real creative as far as what we've been doing. We got a couple of different things we're working on right now, just to make sure we get our eyes on as many kids as we can this year, as many players as we can this year. But I've been doing this thing on Wednesdays called Whiteout Wednesday, where I'll grab one of the Whiteout alumni. We'll have on Instagram Live. We'll basically just kind of chop it up about, what they've done with the national team, guys they keep in touch with, yada, 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 what they're up to right now to stay busy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's been real cool. Like things have been great. And I'm trying to continue to use my platform to affect the next generation in the most positive way possible,
Right. And it seems like very empowering work. You're working with the next generation, and what I notice a lot is, and I'm even like this, like kids usually won't listen to you unless like you've been there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so the fact that they know you've been there and that you've played, at a major level, things that you say or experiences that you give them, jewels or gems that you give them, their ears going to be wide open because they know it's coming from you.
Exactly, bro. That's the truest thing ever too. Is that's kind of something I like to hang my hat on too. Is because it's like I read this quote the other day and it said something like, "Be the person that you needed as a kid." You know what I'm saying? So like when I was younger, I always wanted to have that dude that I could look up to, that I could just shoot it straight with, like be a coach, but at the end of the day, like have my best interest and make sure that you're giving these players exactly what I would have wanted, however many years ago when I was a recruit. You know what I'm saying? So that's really kind of the way I live my life and do what I do. I just want to make sure that like I'm providing these guys with whatever tools that they need to become like the best player, not even the best player, but like the best men that they can possibly be. You know what I mean? So
absolutely. And again, one thing that I learned, through college and things like that, and just in the professional ranking, you learn that college really doesn't teach you like how to network. College doesn't teach you how to connect with people, like on a personal level. So just give us like, because a lot of times I've noticed that like, you can have 2, 3, 4 degrees, right? But if you haven't networked with anyone, if you don't know anyone that could possibly aid you in like getting your foot in the door for this company or that company, it's going to be hard for you to get those kind of opportunities. So just talk about your action steps. Did you know anyone at USA Football, or how'd you get your resume in there? Just like, just talk about that for our younger listeners that may want to do something like you do.
For sure. No, that's such a valid question, man, because like the biggest truth I think I would say is that your network is your net worth. You know what I'm saying? Like And the more that I dive into what I'm doing, the more I realize that the people that you network with provide you so much more value a lot of times, frankly, than whatever your degree is, or whatever university that you went to, depending on whether or not you utilize your alumni association to network as well. So man, like coaching, it's essentially a boys club. You know what I'm saying? Right. If you know somebody that's coaching at Arkansas, or if you know somebody that's coaching at Purdue, there's a lot greater chance of you being able to get on with those programs. Like my offensive coordinator, who was at Purdue at the time, he was actually tight ends coach and wide receivers coach. He ended up going to Penn State. Now he was wide receiver coach at Penn State. Now he's the offensive coordinator at West Virginia. Right. One of our national team wide receivers now plays at West Virginia. So it's just like, first off, the world of sports is so small, but and the more people that you can talk to and like connect with, the better off you're going to be, because you can float a resume over there and there's a shot that you could get it. Because that's actually how I ended up in the position that I was in. Is after we played together in Des Moines for the Barnstormers, that arena year 16, I came back here. Then I ended up going to Boston and playing. And when I was in Boston, I just floated my resume over to USA Football. I saw they had an opening, and I made my way over there. They just liked my resume. They're like, "Oh, this kid he played professional. He went to Purdue. He played in college in the Power 5 conference, stuff like that. Like, so they really just gave me a shot strictly off of that. And what I was doing when I first got to USA Football was totally different than what I'm in right now. Like, I was upstairs, like just answering the phone and like resetting people's passwords. You know what I'm saying? But it literally got my foot in the door, and like I can't express enough how important it is to, even if you want to go, say you want to go work at ESPN and they got a janitor position hiring, like go be a janitor at ESPN, because you just never know what that may parlay into. Like if you're inside the corporation, you kind of get to see the inner workings of what's going on, and then when something does open up, you're that much closer to the people you need to talk to get to where you need to get to. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly. And I think that's what's so powerful, especially for our youth and the generation coming up right now, because a lot of times, with all this social media, YouTube, things like that, they think that things are just going to come overnight. Whereas they have to know that, no, like you're going to have to put in some work. You may have to start down here and work your way up, chop wood, carry water, just keep grinding, keep pushing, and slowly move up and up and up, And so to me, that's so powerful, man. I'm glad you were able to share that, because that's literally how it works.
100%, bro. 100%. I mean, I'm sure and you have examples too about like just how networking is so valuable, man. Like it truly is, because it almost gets to a point where, you have a resume, but a lot of people get to a point in their careers where does their resume matter? Absolutely, their resume matters, but if I'm talking to you, if I'm talking to Brian, and you got a position that you're hiring for, my resume is going to be the last thing that I even send over to you, because you know who I am as a person, and you know that I would fit or wouldn't fit in a specific type of position. So,
right. I was interviewing a guy named Ephraim Reed. He played running back at the University of Louisiana. He's the offensive analyst for Michigan State now. He was telling me that, probably like. Before this position, he was director of player engagement at his alma mater, University of Louisiana, and he had saw an opening at the University of Colorado like 2 or 3 years ago. At the time, Mel Tucker was the head coach, and I guess Mel Tucker liked his resume, but he didn't think that he was a good fit for the open position that they had. So he reached out to him like, "Hey, I like your resume. Keep doing your thing, like, and hopefully, we can come up with something, later down the line." And so he kept, doing his thing as a player engagement. Over player engagement for 2 years at Louisiana, and then boom, Mel Tucker gets the job at Michigan State, and he's like, he sees it. He's like, man, I don't know, should I? Because you remember him emailing him, so he was like, should I reach out to him, let him know, hey, if you have anything at Michigan State, let me know, like, or if he would remember him. And he said that literally like 2 days after he had that thought, Mel Tucker called him like, hey, I got this, I got a few offensive jobs open, like, do you want to come coach in the Big Ten? He was like,
hey, right.
He was like, hell yeah, of course I do. He was like, so he thinking like, what do you need me to do? Am I going to have to GA? Am I going to have to finish GA first? Things like that. And he was like, no. I was so impressed with what you did in player engagement and at Louisiana, I'm going to make you offensive analyst here, and like, you're going to have some big responsibilities. But I thought that was so powerful because he hit him up 3 years before, and he didn't have anything for him then. But it's just funny how it manifested, and it's funny how, like you said, just connecting with people and those networks, checking in. He said, like, he would check in with him every like 6 months, not much, but just shoot him an email, hey bro, just checking in, hope everything is well. And so he remembered that when it was time when he was making his staff, and now
Bro, that's so true. And there's so many different examples that are exactly like that, where like it'll lay dormant for almost a full year, but then bang, at the drop of a hat, somebody could be let go, or a new coaching staff could come up, or a guy that used to coach you at one point may be the offensive coordinator at a whole different university. Right. You know what I mean? So. And like you said, bro, it's always like that. You got to just continue to shake hands and always be putting your best foot forward, and always just be talking to people and networking with people, man. Like, relationships matter. They truly do. And the way you treat people, it absolutely matters.
Yeah, they're super, super valuable. Like, relationships are damn near the most valuable thing you can have, honestly.
Truly.
All right, man. So the last question, I always end with this question. I call this podcast the After Effect podcast. So just kind of talk about the after effect of your athletic career, because as athletes we go through ups, downs, pain, joy, sorrow, happiness. So over all these years of you being an athlete, just talk about the after effect of that. When you found out that, hey, okay, I'm done with sports, I'm gonna segue or transition into this. This is my after effect. This is what I learned. Let's talk about that.
Brian, first off, man, I can't thank you enough. I'm excited to see who else comes on this podcast and what type of knowledge that they drop, because this is massive, bro. Like, I left a comment on the deal saying this is massive. So shout out to you, man. But as far as like, for sure. As far as like the after effect, just in general, man, like something that I've grown up in the sport, like just like you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been athletes pretty much our whole life, and there's a way to man, like everything that you go through that is related to sport, you can somehow parlay it or transition it into something in life in any type of way, man. And I'll never forget, man, like when we were in Des Moines, and I was like, man, I've been working out so hard because I feel like I had something to prove after not making it in the league. You know what I'm saying? So we go out there preaching the game. I end up with 2 touchdowns out the gate. I'm like, okay,
you went crazy. I remember.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm out here, whatever. Bang, I get cut, I get released. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? But that being said, at the time, it felt like my world was ending. I packed up all my stuff to go to Iowa to do this. But something that I took away from that I still hold true to this day is that everybody's replaceable. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what profession that you're in, no matter where you are in life and how secure you feel you are in any position, and just continue to put yourself first, continue to make sure you're looking out for yourself, because if you don't, then nobody will. But man, I just want people to understand that, life is such a long
journey.
It is, man. And it's fragile, and every day is a blessing. Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, you got to continue to build upon what you know and who you are. And sports, man, they help me do that. They really help me dig deep. Those days, and it sounds so cliche, but like the days where we would run gassers, like it really lets you know, okay, although this is painful right now, I'm gonna be able to get through this because I've done this before. Like, no matter what you face in life, 9 times out of 10, there's a scenario in sport, whether it's you maxing out on your bench or going to Ohio State at the Horseshoe and playing in front of 100,000 people. Like, there's 1,000 different things that you never would have ever known that you're capable of surpassing and surmounting. But sports allow you to do that, man. So I would just say my after effect, man, is just that, you can always continue to evolve, not just as an athlete, but as a person through life, man. Like that's the biggest thing, is it's okay to continue to recreate yourself. And the transition from sports to real world and to real life, it's uncomfortable, and it's going to be uncomfortable, but that's okay. You know what I'm saying? That's okay, because you can impact whatever it is that you're set on impacting from where you're at. You know what I'm saying? Whether you work at USA Football, whether you work at Fox News, whether you work at, the corner store up the street, you can have an impact, a lasting impact on people's lives. So that's one thing that sports told me, man. And I said that would be my after effect.
Man, I love both of those points. So, that newfound evolvement and evolution, and understanding and knowing that you are replaceable, that the world is going to kick your ass. It's going to kick your ass. And like you say, you revert back to those hard gashes, those hard workouts to get you through those hard times. When you got released here, or you got cut here, or you didn't perform here or there, you feel like your world was going to end. You revert back to that, the base and the ethics of what you learned, through the sport.
100%, bro. 100%.
Definitely, bro. Well, again, man, I appreciate you tapping in with me, man. I already knew we was gonna have a great conversation because I just remember how we connected just the first day we met in Des Moines. So I knew I wanted to get you on the show, man. And also, I want to say congratulations on your engagement.
Hey, I appreciate you, bro.
Yeah. I remember I commented. I told you, like, I knew it was coming. I ain't know when, but I could just tell, like, I knew it was coming. So congrats on that, bro, man. Tell your fiance I said hello. And yeah, man, just stay safe out here. 2020. It's been a crazy one. It's been a wild one.
It's been a year, bro. And again, thank you so much for having me on, bro. I'm excited for the things that you've done and the things that you're going to continue to do. Obviously, I follow you on social media. You seem like you're everywhere at the same time.
At the same time.
And man, like you said, man, stay safe, but just continue to use your platform, man. Like LeBron, you're a perfect example of somebody who's been able to recreate yourself and just like continue to blossom and grow. And to be honest with you, bro, like your evolution is inspiring. Like people need to see that type of stuff, bro. So continue to do what you do, bro. Seriously, man. I appreciate you.
Man, absolutely, bro. All right, man. I definitely stay in touch, bro. And good luck as things open up and reopen, and on all your recruiting adventures. And we'll definitely be in touch, bro.
For sure, bro. It sounds good, man. I'm gonna holler at you.
All right, man. Take it easy.
All right.